Hello, happy Thursday. I'm going to be talking about how to truly start owning your time today. If you are watching this, it is because you feel like you don't own your time. You feel like overwhelmed by your time, or maybe you just feel like you can't get a grasp over your time, or that there isn't enough time. Hey, April, what's going on? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm sharing all about how to truly start owning your time. And if you have any questions as you are watching, or if you're watching the replay and you have questions, go ahead and drop them below. Let me know what makes you feel like you're not owning your time. Because honestly, better managing your time is the only thing holding you back from achieving that work-life balance that you desire, from achieving that dream lifestyle that you desire. And I'm really passionate about helping people get to a point where they feel like they are in control of their time. They can do anything they want with their time. And there's nothing that can hold them back when it comes to what they can accomplish, because they know how to use their time effectively. I think time management is definitely one of those things where we learned about it quickly or briefly in school, and then we just went off with whatever we learned. So maybe we learned a to-do list and we just live off a to-do list now. Or maybe we learned we need a planner and now we try to use a planner in our adult lives, but it doesn't exactly work out, or we get easily distracted because of social media, or different things come up in our lives and we often forget what we need to get done and what we need to accomplish. We don't know how to actually set priorities, and everything feels urgent and important all at the same time. So that is all things that I help people do, and I'm going to be sharing some really good, juicy gems on how to own your time and some shifts that you need to make to actually start owning your time. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Sade Kelly. I am a time management coach, and I specifically help high achieving women reclaim their time. So I help them learn how to manage their time so that they can achieve their goals without sacrificing self-care. Because for many of high achievers, and I identify with this myself, we are so great at showing up in our careers. We're so great at going after our dreams and goals. But when it comes to our dreams and goals in our personal life, or when it comes to our well-being and taking care of ourselves before anyone else, we often struggle with that. Let me know if you struggle with that too. I feel like that is something, especially as women. I'm not gonna say men don't struggle with it, because I know they do. But I would say women struggle with it even more, where a lot of us just feel like we have to constantly show up for everybody else, and that's what we're used to. We're used to catering and showing up for everybody else, but we don't always show up for ourselves. And I'm on a mission to stop that, right? Like, I'm on a mission to help thousands, or as many, even if I can get to millions of ambitious people, design a life that they love, so that way they can do that by effectively managing their time and just enjoy their life. I feel like a lot of people are not enjoying their lives. Hi, handsome. Hi, Miguel. Thanks for joining. So I know you're on here because you want to learn how to manage your time and you want to learn how to own it. So I'm going to go into those tips, but I was just sharing a little bit more about me if you don't know me. And also, I'm going to be dropping any questions as I'm going through too. If you have any, that's going to help me guide the conversation. Make sure that it is pertaining to whatever you're dealing with. But the first thing I want you to do, if you feel like you are not owning your time, it's going to sound simple, but it's actually super, super powerful. And it's to hack your brain. So when I say hack your brain, what I mean is, if you are feeling like you don't have enough time, it's a pressure that you're putting onto yourself. It's not a real pressure. I know that sounds like, what do you mean it's not a real pressure? It definitely is not. It is self-created. For many of us, if we're feeling overwhelmed, it's because in our heads, we're feeling like we can't accomplish everything that we need to accomplish, or maybe we're feeling like we don't know how to solve a certain situation. Or even just today, I had a client telling me that when she feels super challenged and she doesn't know how to do something or how to approach something, she often gets so scared and nervous about what she's doing that it stops her from taking action. If you felt any of those things, drop a 1 in the chat. Let me know if you can relate to that. I feel like that's a really common thing that we all go through. But when I say hack your brain, I want you to know that everything starts with your mindset. So your brain literally believes everything that you tell it. So if you're telling yourself that you are not an owner of your time, if you're telling yourself that you're stressed or you're overwhelmed, you are going to then become those things. And I know it sounds like I'm saying, oh, just think positive thoughts. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying to really think through why you're telling yourself you're overwhelmed. why you exactly you feel overwhelmed. What is it that's causing that overwhelm? How can you go ahead and reverse that feeling within your mind? Because if you don't believe something, you literally will not be able to achieve it. Everything that we're going to achieve starts with how much we can visualize it, how much we truly deep down believe in it. So hacking your brain is one of the most important things to do. If you want to start owning your time, you have to start identifying as someone who owns their time. I'm going to give I have a couple brief examples of how this actually works. Like really, really small, simple examples of how this worked for me, right? So the other day, literally, I shared this on my story. Like, I think it was Monday. I told myself that I was going to wake up by, I think it was a 7 or 7:30 that morning. And I woke up at 7:28 with no alarm. Just by intentionally telling myself, you are going to wake up at a certain time. Like, just telling my subconscious, I'm going to wake up by 7:30. I set the intention right before I went to sleep. I went to sleep and I woke up at 7:28 without any alarm. Crazy. But I just want you to see how powerful telling yourself things and being intentional actually leads to results, because you're going to sleep with a purpose, right? So that's one way to literally hack your subconscious, hack your brain, and show yourself that you can own your time just by believing that you can own your time. Hey, Kay, Leos, and Exnema. I'm probably saying your names wrong, but hey, thanks for joining. Hey, Plenty Dough. So if you have any questions as I'm going through, if you have anything that you're dealing with that's making you feel like you don't own your time, drop it in the chat because I want to tailor the conversation. But the first hack that I was giving, or the first tip that I was giving, was make sure you can hack your brain, right? Another way I hacked my brain is I told myself that I was going to be a full-time entrepreneur in January of 2020. Like before everything went down, like in the world, in January 2020, I literally told myself, I was like, hey, Jess, I am going to become a full-time entrepreneur. I don't care what happens this year. I put it on my vision board. It was huge. And I looked at it every single day and I told myself every single day I'm going to do something that gets me closer to becoming a full-time entrepreneur. And despite everything that went down in 2020 and how the whole world changed, I still was able to achieve that goal within 5 months. By the time it was September 2020, I literally embodied and became the full-time entrepreneur that I've been telling myself I was going to be anyway. So when it comes to owning your time, the first thing you have to do is start identifying as someone who owns their time. You have to stop telling yourself you don't have enough time, because you do. One of the craziest, not craziest, but one of the most common things I hear from people when I ask them oh, what have you done to help with your time management issues? They always say, well, I started waking up earlier. And here's the thing. All right, let's do some math. Okay? And if you don't like math, don't click out. I just want to go over this very simply for you. We all have 24 hours in the day. We all have the same amount of time as anybody else, right? I always say we all got the same amount of time as Beyonce. We got 24 hours in a day. If we now wake up earlier, we have to then go to sleep earlier, right? Because if you want to wake up earlier and be more alert, you got to go to sleep earlier. So then you end up having the same exact time no matter what time you wake up. So at the end of the day, what time you wake up is not going to change the 16 hours you're awake if you sleep for 8, right? It's about what you do in that time, how you identify. Do you wake up and give yourself some time to wind into the day? Do you wake up proactive, not on your phone scrolling for the first couple of hours and then finding yourself thinking how did I get here? It's an hour later and I need to rush to work. Are you starting your day with stress? Because if you start your day with stress, your day is going to end up stressful. You ever noticed that? But if you start your day with calm and peace, your day will go that way. So when you're hacking your brain, you have to be super intentional about stop telling yourself. Sorry guys, I have a time limit for Instagram and it just went off, and I hope it doesn't go off again. If it does, sorry. But you guys can all see me, hear me. Let me know in the chat before I keep going, because I don't know if I'm frozen still. Anybody? Yeah? Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so yeah, I was talking about hacking your brain. So your brain literally wants to keep you safe. And by that, I mean anything that is regular to you or habitual is what your brain often wants to do. And it's the best thing, but also the most annoying thing. Because if you're used to a certain pattern, like let's say you're used to waking up, being on your phone, you're used to being easily distracted, you're used to feeling like you don't have enough time, your body wants to keep feeling that because that's what it's used to. So that's what it feels, keeps it safe. So anytime you're trying to get out of that, start telling yourself new ideals, start doing new habits, it's the hardest thing at first because your brain is literally like, whoa, I want to stay comfortable. I want to keep doing what I'm used to doing. Why are you switching up on me? But anytime you're trying to do something new or challenging, that's what's going to happen. You're going to feel uncomfortable for a while. It's going to take you probably, I always tell clients, it takes you at least 4 weeks to really get into a groove with a habit. So if you're giving yourself 2 or 3 days to do it, it's not going to happen. So the best way to start, the number one way to start owning your time is to start believing that you own your time. Stop letting other people take your time away from you, right? You really got to start saying no to things that don't serve you, saying yes to those things that do, really sitting down and thinking through, does this make sense to me right now? I think for many of us, we say yes to things, we feel obligated to do things for other people all the time, and we're okay with doing things for other people, and then we do them knowing that it's going to hurt us, right? Like I was talking to another client the other day. All my stories are always clients in my life, in my own life, just because it's like amazing what we all go through and it's so relatable. But she was telling me that, you know, she wanted to help her mom out with something. And she was like, if I do that and give her this money, I'm literally going to be hurting myself. Like, and she knew it, but she was aggravating over the decision. And I told her, I'm like, you got to stop saying yes to things in all areas of your life that don't serve you and put you in a worse predicament. Like, only help people from a place where you can help. Because if you don't, you're going to be resentful and you're going to be upset about it, right? So all in all, the moral of the story is you just need to hack your brain so that you can start owning your time. April said, yes, I'm a client. I'm very happy with the results. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so the second tip, I kind of already touched on this, but you got to start setting boundaries with yourself and others. So by boundaries, I like to think of boundaries as rules for your life. So when I say rules for your life, when it comes to owning your time, I really want you to get comfortable with determining the amount of hours you want to be spending doing things. Because one thing I see for people is they feel like they're not owning their time because they feel like their time is going to everyone else, right? Especially if they're still working a 9 to 5. I work with a lot of side hustlers, so they're usually working a 9 to 5, and they also have something on the side that they're doing, like a business, or they're in school or something like that. And what happens is because they have a certain time for class or a certain time for work or a certain time they need to show up for meetings, they feel like they've lost control of their time. But I want to open your mind up a little bit, right? At the end of the day, everything we do is a choice. So that means that just because your job tells you have to show up at 9 a.m. doesn't mean you have to do it, right? At the end of the day, you could always say no, like you don't have to go. And I want you to think about everything that you do in your life in that way. Like I remember my grandfather used to always say, like, everything in your life is a choice. You're always making a choice. And when you approach everything like a choice, then you start to feel like you're in ownership of your life. I know for the longest time when I would be working at my corporate job, I just felt like I didn't own my time. I felt like I always had to show up. I had to act a certain way. But at the end of the day, that was all choices that I made. Yeah, you can argue, hey, you might have lost your job if you didn't make those choices, but you might not have, right? And at the end of the day, you still chose to show up and do those things. So try showing up more joyfully, showing up as someone who wants to be there, and start owning your environment, like own your attitude, own your own peace, validate yourself. Don't look for it from outside people. So when it comes to setting boundaries and owning your time, I want you to think through, like, what are my work hours? Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, what hours am I working? What times am I showing up to work? And what time am I taking my meals? When am I taking my breaks? How am I going to feel? How am I planning to do my commute? Or what's my morning routine? Like, really think through, like, what are the times you want to be spending? How much time do you want to be spending doing all those things? How often do you want to see your friends? A lot of times, a lot of my clients are like, I work so much that I don't get to hang out with friends. I work so much that I don't get to spend as much time with my family. If that is happening to you, I want you to question how much you are reaching out to people. I want you to question how much you are actually sitting down to plan social events. Many of us do not do that. We'll plan everything that we deem important, meaning something professional-wise or something work-wise, right? Because we live in a capitalist society where we have to work and we're so stressed out about our work and we feel like we have to hustle. But at the end of the day, we also need to prioritize our wellness, because you're nothing without your health. Like, if you want to start going to the gym more, how many hours do you want to be going to the gym? When do you want to be going? Like, it's as simple as start making decisions about your life. If you feel like you are not owning your time, you have to start setting rules up for yourself that you're going to abide by. Is this making sense? Let me know in the chat. You guys are a little quiet, and I need some participation. So let me know in the chat if this is making sense. If you're getting how, literally, if you can set up time for like your personal development, if you can set up time for your wellness, if you can start thinking about the aspects of your life you want to grow, right? Like, I'll give you an example in my own life. All right, April said yes. All right, cool. And if you have questions, like I said, drop them in the chat. One thing I started doing was I want to work on my spiritual health, right? So I was just like, I have a really set morning routine, I have a really set night routine, but how can I entwine this into my life? And all I did was simply start adding in some journaling at night. Like, I was like, you know what, even if it's 5 minutes, I set a timer, I show up for myself, and I do it really, really small. I always start off really small like that. Like, I'm like, all right, I bought this self-love journal, and I was like, you know what, I want to work on my spiritual health, I want to work on my intuition, and I'm going to look into and listen to videos that pertain to that in the mornings while I'm getting ready. Or I'm going to listen to or journal at night, or do a meditation. Like, there's small things that we can start intertwining into our lifestyle, really, really small, whenever there's something we want to work on. April said, I'm still struggling from my self-care at times. What's making you struggle with your self-care? Drop it in the chat, and we can do some live coaching on that. But, so yeah, number 2, set boundaries with yourself. Set up those rules for your life. If you feel like you are not owning your time, it's because you are not taking ownership of your time. I'm going to say that again. If you feel like you are not truly owning your time, it is because you are not showing up and deciding for yourself in your life. You're not actually showing up and taking ownership of your life and your time. And I'm so passionate about this. And I'm going to go back to this story. And you guys, maybe some of you heard of this story before, but when I was in my corporate job, I used to hear all the time that I can't have it all, that I'm not going to be able to juggle everything that I want, that I have to make sacrifices. And yes, in life you do. But I just hated that narrative. Like, I kept looking at people who were like in these high positions at the company I was at. And I was like, so all these people, like all these women, they just have to like sacrifice so much to be here, to get these quote unquote salaries that are actually not even that great, like, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, they feel like they can't do everything that they want, and they can't accomplish all that they want. And I don't know, that just did not resonate with me. I remember being like 21 and 22 and being like, that's not the life I want to live. So I need to start owning my time. I need to start setting boundaries in my life. And that's how that's how I set up 3 different businesses, all while I was working a full-time 9 to 5. And luckily, one of them took off, right? Because that's entrepreneurship, multiple tries and figuring it out. But that's why I'm so passionate about these things, because it's just like, we can own our time, and I want more people to know that they can, that you are not controlled by anyone, not even your job, not your parents, not your friends, not your man, not your wife, not your whatever, okay? I'm going to go into the 3rd tip, but like, I want to see what did April say. I'm focused on my kids, and my grandfather said of taking care of a mental health care moment for me. Things get busy sometimes, but I just lay in my bed and breathe before I continue my day. Yeah, so I like that. So she was saying that she's focusing basically on being a caregiver, which plenty of women, that's normal. Whether you have kids or not, you often are being a caregiver in your life to someone. And that's okay, because we're like natural nurturers, and that's what we're naturally used to doing, instead of taking a mental care moment for me. So if you're lacking or struggling with taking mental care moments for yourself, that's good. That's good that you are first aware of it and acknowledging it. What I'm going to say you should definitely do is, and what you already said, like, you're taking moments to breathe and do some meditation and take some breaks. Think about small ways that you can fit in mental care for you. And then think about what would be that care for you. Like, for me, it's journaling, it's meditation, it's Netflix sometimes. Like, honestly, y'all, sometimes I just need to sit down and watch a good show and like escape my own life. I don't know how to explain it. That and like my arts, like sometimes I'll just color in my coloring book, and I don't know, I feel like a kid again, and it's just great. Like, sometimes I just need to go back to like that kid-like behavior, and it really helps my mental health. or getting outside. Like I would also tell you, if you're in the house a lot and you're a caregiver and you're taking care of everyone, try to like take a walk by yourself with yourself. I love doing walks. My goal now is doing daily walks. Just being outside in nature really helps your mental health, and it also helps you physically, right? And it's gonna boost some endorphins in you, give you some more excitement. I would say that's a great way to like fit in some mental care for yourself, and aim to do it every single day. Like I posted a reel today about like a lot of people just live for the weekend, and we don't need to live for the weekend. Like we can live every single day like it's like there's no tomorrow. Like I genuinely believe that you can enjoy and wake up on a Monday and feel as great as you do when you wake up on a Saturday knowing you have no work to do, right? It's just by intertwining fun and activities you enjoy throughout your day. And for many of us, we don't even know how to structure your day to like make those things happen. And that's why I even have a profession, right? Like that's what I do as a coach. I help people really see the gaps in their day. And any client that comes to me, I can always find at least 1 to 5, even 6 hours in their day that they're not using well, that we can extract and they can start using better. So on average, my clients are saving like 28 hours in a week just by me being able to reorganize their schedule. And then now they're able to do more things with their lives, right? And so that's super, super important. Let me get into the third tip. So far, how to truly start owning your time. I've gone through hacking your brain. So you got to start identifying as someone who owns your time. You got to start showing up as someone who owns their time. You got to stop the limiting beliefs. Number 2, setting boundaries with your life. So setting up those rules that you're going to abide by, like, and reading them and looking at them daily is a big deal, because many of us think we just got to enforce boundaries with others, but we don't have boundaries with ourselves, and we don't be showing up for ourselves the way we need to. And then the third tip is to hyper focus on your priorities. Hyper focus, meaning get zoned in, right? Hyper focus on your priorities. What that looks like is you have to start truly getting clear on what you want. I know this from personal experience. Sometimes it's hard to decide what you want in a certain moment, or maybe you feel unsure about what you want or what direction you want to go into. I always tell clients, just decide. And you can always change your mind, but don't become the person who gets in so much decision fatigue and they're so bent out of shape and they have like analysis paralysis to the point where you don't know how to make a decision. I really want you to get more comfortable like selecting something based off like, is this task important to me? Meaning like, is this advantageous to my future? Does this align with the goals that I have? Like, if you know, I always like to use weight loss examples because it's like really simple. But if you know, or even health examples, if you know you want to be healthy, you want to live a long life, you want to make sure that you're treating your body right. So then one of the tasks that should be on your list is some type of workout, right? Some type of meal planning. Those type of things are things that should be one of your tasks on a weekly basis because it aligns with your goal. So make sure that you're looking at your tasks each day and thinking through, okay, is this important to me? Is this aligned with my goals? Is this urgent? Meaning like, is this urgent for somebody else? Is this urgent for me? What's the deadline that I'm attaching to this? When do I want to get this done by? So that's how you would go ahead and select your priorities. But then when it comes to hyper focusing, this is where a lot of people struggle. And there's so many strategies around focus. But the one thing I'm going to tell you is, in order to get focused, you have to set an environment up for focus. Many of us go into new tasks, or we enter our day with all this energy. We sit down to do a task, and next thing we know, we have 20 tabs open. We're struggling to even remember what we were going to work on. We're playing music in the background that's distracting us. Maybe we have the TV on while we're trying to like answer some emails. It's just, you're all over the place. Right? So in order to get hyper focused, you need to set an environment up for focus. If that means you need to throw your phone away, not throw your phone away, but you know, Tiffany said that's what I'm doing now. What are you doing now? Because I just said a lot. I don't remember exactly what I was talking about. What are you doing now, you mean? Is it not being hyper focused? Oops. Okay, sorry. I think you said yes, not being hyper focused. Yeah. So here's the thing about when you allow yourself to not be hyper focused. If you overstimulate yourself, meaning you have multiple things going on, if you're someone who watches TV, is on their phone, and I'm not, no shade to you, on their computer, doing all those things at one time, you are teaching yourself to multitask. And most of us cannot multitask. And when that happens, we're almost training ourselves to be used to being overstimulated. So when we try to sit down and focus on one thing, we struggle with it. So if you're struggling with that, I'm going to suggest that you start timing yourself, that you start setting up your environment for success, right? Tiffany said, I'm setting up my environment to be focused. Oh, good. So what are some things that you're doing to do that? How are you setting up your environment for focus? Hey, Anissa. Oh, okay. Tiffany, I didn't see your answer yet, but I know Instagram's a little delayed. But yeah, so I was saying, if you want to be hyper focused, you have to set your environment up for success, right? Even just having clutter on your desk, you'd be amazed how much that messes with your mental health. So when you're trying to get hyper focused, don't multitask. Literally have open or have in front of you whatever is the one thing you want to get done. Set a time limit and intention for yourself while you're doing it. Get really clear on what you want to accomplish in that time, and then just go after it, right? Stay focused for a bit, then take a break. You really should be taking breaks every couple hours. You don't need to be working full on. And then I want to remind you all that most of us can only focus for about 4 hours, and then we need to take a break. So I always like to plan my day. I'll give you a little insight to how I plan my day. I plan the first 4 hours of the morning is like my focus time. That is when I'm like locked in. Anything that's difficult typically is happening within those 4 hours in the morning for me, because mid-morning is like my best time. And if you're on my email list, I sent out a quiz to figure out what your chronotype is and to understand around the best times for you. So if you're not on my email list, you definitely want to join that. And if you want to join my email list, just shoot me a DM and I'll send you the link for it, because I don't know if it's in my bio. But if you go to my website, you should be able to join. But yeah, so now I lost my train of thought, what I was saying. Dang. But essentially I was saying, I was talking about your chronotype. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you know your optimal peaks of the day. So for me, I know my optimal peak. I do most of my focus work during that time. And then I take a pretty extended break in the afternoon, work out, get outside, take a lunch break. And then I come back and I do most of my calls in the afternoon, evening. Oh, thanks, Mel. Oh, Melissa, I really appreciate it. She bought a badge. I appreciate you. I miss you. A lot of my past clients are in here and I miss you guys. But does anyone have questions about owning your time? That was pretty much what I had to share. Then, of course, my last thing is always going to be, if you are struggling with your productivity, with setting boundaries, with feeling like you're owning your life confidently, being able to show up the way you want, being able to optimize what you're doing within an hour or within your day, hire help, right? I'm not saying it has to be me, but I can tell you I got results, right? And I have clients in here who literally have wrote in the chat the results that they've been able to get, right? I've had clients transform their lives, being able to optimize their work lives, being able to optimize their personal lives, being able to finally do health-related things, being able to Forex their income. All those things I've had a client be able to write a book in just 3 months. Like, there's amazing things that can happen, and there's amazing goals that you can achieve when you get hyper focused on what you need to be doing and you have someone guiding you and holding you accountable along the way. So I'm really, really passionate about helping people do that. If that's something you want, you can go ahead and just DM me the word time, or even write the word time in the chat, and we can talk about what that could look like for you. Because not everyone needs full-on coaching programs. Not everyone needs that. So I like to tailor my packages to what the person needs as well. But I also, of course, have coaching programs and coaching sessions that I offer. So thank you guys for joining my live. I am definitely going to say this because I feel like it was really good. Not to hype myself up, but does anybody have questions about anything I shared, or anything, even just time-wise, that you're dealing with that you would like some expert advice on? I'm going to wait a little second. Let me know. Tiffany said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself and for supporting me and being here. Really appreciate you guys showing up, for real, because I haven't gone live in a minute. And because I used to go back and forth on whether or not I wanted to go live, like if it was really doing anything or worth it. But at the end of the day, like even if one person is on here, even if 0 people is on here, right? I know that I have a passion and I'm really, really just on a mission to help as many people as I can to own their time and to live a life that they enjoy. Because I just feel like there's so many of us who feel like we need to get our lives together, or we're living a life that we don't enjoy. And I I don't want that for you. I want to ignite the fire inside you. I want to help you. So, all right. I see some questions coming in. All right. So thanks for the knowledge. Thank you. I'm still trying to set my boundaries, kind of hard. Okay, April, what are you struggling with in terms of boundaries? Boundaries with self or boundaries with others? And then Tiffany said, how do you schedule for yourself or create a work schedule? Oh, I like that question. So I schedule around my energy. Okay. So I have methods for how I measure my energy, and I know when I am at my peak state and when I have my dips and when I have my peak states later in the day. So I make sure to schedule my most difficult tasks or like tasks that I know are going to take a lot of brain power. I put that in my focus hours, which are like in the morning for me. They're usually around like 8:30 to about 12:30 is like my deep focus time. I usually don't take calls during that time. I do make exceptions sometimes, but usually during that time is my like deep focused work that I need to work on. So I'm not looking at like emails. I'm looking at projects. I'm looking at if I'm like a course, if I'm changing something in my curriculum, or I'm answering client feedback, I'm creating client outlines. Like those type of work is happening in those first like peak hours. And then I like to take a break midday because I know I'm about to dip. I have an afternoon early dip. Let me know if you guys can relate to that. So usually during that time is when I go to the gym and I eat lunch. I hang out with like my husband. I may go for a walk. And then I come back and do some work calls in the afternoon. And then at night kind of varies. Like sometimes, like honestly, by like 5 o'clock, I may take like a 20-minute nap. I love a power nap. I'm all for power naps. Or I may go for a walk, I may get on the phone. Like I usually like to like take a time to relax. I may cook dinner. Those are all different types of things I do around that time. And then I usually come back to work around like 6:30, 7, 8-ish, depending on if I have client calls at night, because a lot of my clients work during the day. They work 9 to 5. They're side hustlers. They're trying to grow a business on the side, or they're like, that's just when they're available. Or I'll be on something like this at night. So that's kind of how I design my day, but I always end the day with some type of night routine, right? I have to wind down for the day. I've noticed that when I wind down, I get way better quality sleep. And we all know that if we get great quality sleep, we can be so much more productive. We can get so much more done. Like I know for me, if I'm tired, I might as well not be working because it takes me so much longer to get things done. It can take me like double the amount of time. So that's really, really important for me. So that's a little bit about how I schedule my day. I actually did a whole feature on Teachable and like listed out exactly how my day goes in detail. If you want to see that, it's on my feed. I believe I posted it last Friday, so it's not even that far down. You can go and check that out. I did a collab with Teachable, which is a brand I love that I use as well for my group coaching program. Okay. April said she has struggling boundaries with others. So when it comes to boundaries with others, it can be a hard topic, right? Because if people are so used to us showing up a certain way, when we start setting boundaries or saying no, or, you know, what they like to call switching up, it can be challenging for people to get on board. But I would say, like, if you're struggling with it, just keep enforcing your boundaries. And if the person keeps going against it, honestly, reconsider that relationship. Like, it may be time to cut that person off. Like, don't shoot the messenger, but I'm just giving you real talk. Like, if you keep enforcing your boundaries, you're having open dialogue with someone and they're not willing to meet you where you are, it may be time to end that friendship. It's funny. I have a friend who's, like, a master at boundaries, I would say. Like, I've never seen someone have boundaries like this. And when we started like getting to know each other deeply, I was like, girl, wow. Like, I was like, okay. Like, I just remember one time we were at an event and it was like a women's empowerment, like conference type of thing. And we entered a session and we both kind of looked at each other and we were like, oh, we don't really like this session. But me, I was like, let me sit down, be respectful and just listen. She literally got up and was like, I'm not enjoying this session. I don't know about what you want to do. You can choose what you want to do, but I'm walking out. Like, she just left. And she was like, I'm taking a break and I can meet you after it's done. And I was just like, wow, what a way. Like, that inspired me. Like, it was a small thing, but I was like, look at someone who really is like, I'm owning my time. I don't want to be spending my time here right now. I'd rather be doing something else. I'm going to exit this and go do what I want to be doing. Like, that's how I want y'all to approach life. Like, ever since I saw her do that, I was like, that's how I want to show up every single day. Like, when I think about what I'm doing with my time and my day, I really want to think through, like, is this worth my time? And I used to even do that at my old job. Like, I tell my boss, like, hey, that's a meeting I don't feel I need to be in because of XYZ. You know, not in that way. I would say more politely. But essentially, like, if it didn't make sense to me to show up and be in there, then I'm leaving. What's the point of me staying somewhere that doesn't serve me, doesn't make sense for my time? We only have so many hours in the day, right? And we load ourselves with all these things we want to accomplish. Or if we time block every second of the day, and we don't create space, or we don't think intentionally about, is this something I need to show up for? Is it serving me right now? Or is it something I need to do later on? So that's all great ways to start setting boundaries. I hope that was helpful. All right, she said true, so I'm gonna take that as helpful. Any other questions you guys have that I can answer before I head off? I'm thinking of leaving my current job to start my own business. Yes. Girl, do it. So I have a whole YouTube video. Actually, what's Tiffany, the energy healer? I'm going to screenshot your name. I'm going to send you a video I did. I think you may find it really, really valuable of how I actually quit my job. Like, I share the day I quit, like how I did it, how I decided I was going to move forward with my business. And actually how much I saved up, how I like planned before I left my business. Because for me, it was really important that I had a mentor. So I made sure that I hired a coach who I knew could get me started and get me going. And then I also, what else did I do? I saved up like 5 or 6 months worth of income. I just wanted to go into it very comfortably. Some people don't like that route. Like, they like to just throw themselves in and go after it, but I'm not that type of person. I'm a planner, clearly. I like to plan. So I made sure I created a really thorough plan before I went all in with my business. So I'd be happy to chat with you about that, Tiffany, and I'm going to send that video to you after this because I think it would be really helpful. Yeah, okay, I see some hearts. I want to plan it. Yeah, exactly. Like, that was the exact same way. So I totally get that, but don't be afraid to do it. If you're already working a job, which I know you said you are, start thinking about how you can transition. Start thinking about the type of business that you want to start. If there's anyone else on here wanting to start a business, I love talking about that. Hit me up in the DMs. We can talk about that, but I really want you to think through, like, what type of business do you want to start? Because for me, I'm going to share a little bit about my business journey. I started off with a blog in 2017. That's my first business venture. I was working in advertising. I was in account management. I worked on huge brands like Mercedes-Benz, Liberty Mutual Insurance, White Castle, Coca-Cola, Comcast. I worked on a lot of huge brands, and I thought that was what I wanted to do. I loved media. I loved advertising, but it just like wasn't what I wanted to do long term. I stopped feeling fulfilled with it probably about like 4 to 6 years in after college, and I started a blog. And the blog was about personal development, and that's what I wanted. I thought I wanted to go all in with the blog and be like an influencer and do that whole route. But then for me, I didn't really love the whole brand partnership things because it kind of still felt like a job. Not that I don't like doing brand partnerships, but I just knew it wasn't what I wanted to do full on. I wanted to help people on a different type of way. So I ended up, in between that, I ended up starting an e-commerce business, but that was a whole not the best route for me. I didn't really enjoy that. I had like an Amazon store, and it did not go so well in the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. But then after that, I started doing networking events, and that's where I found my groove, like helping people real time, giving them coaching. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I was coaching them. I just thought I was like giving life advice. I was the life advice friend anyway, so I thought, let me just give life advice to people in an event setting. And that's what I started doing. And then as I was doing that, funny enough, my job started asking me, will you host events? Will you host some things? Will you do some events around the office? And that's when I knew, like, okay, if I'm being asked at my job to be doing this stuff, maybe this is something I can do something with. And that led me into time management coaching and coaching in general, because people started asking me, how can you manage 3 businesses while you're working a full-time job, and you have a really rigid like fitness routine, and you're able to still hang out with your friends? You feel like you look like you're living this holistic life. And I was just like, yeah, I am. And it's because I got so good at managing my time from the skills I learned being a project and account manager for these huge Fortune 500 brands, right? Like all day at my job, all I did was manage huge teams, manage projects. And I took that, I started using those skills to manage my life. People started asking me, I started teaching them. Next thing you know, they were like, all right, I'll throw you some money to do it. And then here we are now, right? Like I started this business September 2020, so I'm 2 years in, and it's been a wild ride, but it's been also really, really enjoyable, and I love the work that I do, and I love helping people reclaim their time and own it, because after watching this live, I don't want to hear any excuses. All right, guys, I want you to show up as someone who owns their time. Start telling it to yourself over and over and over again. Start really embodying who you want to become before you start trying to develop the habits. The mindset has to be there. Everything starts with the brain. You got to start with the mindset. You got to start telling yourself things. Even if you don't fully believe it yet, you got to start telling your subconscious, because your mind literally does whatever you tell it. Like, you're in so much more control of your brain than you think. And then I also want you to make sure you set those boundaries up with yourself, with others, keep enforcing them, and get hyper-focused. Get hyper-focused on what you want. Get hyper-focused on your priorities. And of course, if you need help with any of these things, hire help, right? Look into like who can help you develop the lifestyle that you want. If that's something you're interested in getting from me, then you can go ahead and just DM me the word time, and I know you about business, all right? If I get the word DM time, it's on, right? That's the people I take serious, and I get them in, and I see how we can improve their lives, right? Okay, guys. F. Bruce said congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't see any more questions, so I'm probably gonna hop off. Thank you all for joining. I will be live next Thursday at 7. The aim is every Thursday at 7, okay? If you guys, my last request from all of you guys is, you guys are still on here, what topics do you want me to cover? Because I really like to show up knowing that you guys are involved with this. I want this to feel like a community. I want it to feel like every Thursday at 7 we hang out, we chat. I want you to feel like we meeting up for drinks, okay? Except it's online, right? I want it to feel like that. I don't want it to just feel like, hey, I'm showing up and I'm teaching you something, even though I am. I want it to be relatable. I want it to be fun. I want it to feel like a community. So I want to know some feedback from you. Like, what are topics you want me to talk about? And then I'll show up and we can have a conversation about it. Time management. All right, that's very broad. Like, time management is so many things. Like, you can literally be boundaries, discipline, developing habits, developing a schedule, time blocking, like prioritization, discipline, focus. Like, what do you want specifically when it comes to time management? That'll help me narrow it down, because that literally time management is what I do as a coach, right? Like, that's my whole profession. So it's a lot I could talk about. Time management with work-life balance. Okay, so you want to talk about how you can set up some more work-life balance. Small habits, okay? Small habits meaning like, Lisette, hey Lisette, she said all the things. Okay, scheduling. All right, so setting up schedules, small habits, time management, the work-life balance. All right, I'm going to screenshot that. All right, cool. All things I can talk about. Okay. I see someone just joined. Hey, you're joining at the end of the live. But thank you guys for the topics. That's actually really, really helpful for me. What I'm going to do is start planning out when I'm going to do these topics. So what I've been doing on my stories is asking, like, what topic do you guys want to see? And then whatever gets voted the highest is the one I choose. So I'll take a couple of these topics, put it in my story. Make sure you vote for them so that your topics gets chosen. And then we'll do it like that for next week. Working mother, time management. Ooh, I love this. So I'm not a mother yet, but I work with so many moms, and I'm so passionate about helping moms because y'all have so much on your plate. So I completely get it. I just helped a mom. Oh my God, I'm so proud of her. I have a testimonial video from her on my page, and she came to me and she was just like, I really want to go full time in my business. She's a trader. So she also worked with my husband, who's a day trader, and he helped her in his mentorship to learn how to day trade in just 30 days. So if you're interested in that, head to handsome Kelly _. But I helped her, even though she has 4 kids and she is literally the head, she's the first lady of a church. She was able to, just in less than 3 months, quit her full-time job, go full-time in her trading business. She's able to have more time with her kids now that she's working from home. She only works from maybe 8 to like 4 o'clock every single day. It's just like amazing what she's been able to accomplish. And she's also grew her income by 20% just by being more efficient with her time. She said she's achieved goals that she's been wanting to achieve for 3 years in just 3 months. And like, she's about to turn 40 and she's just really excited about where her life is going. She feels like she has a whole new approach to her life and where it's going. And I'm just like so proud because that's just like amazing results. So yeah. I love the work that I do, man. People are always coming to me, they're bummed out. Oh, I'm so inconsistent. Oh, I have no discipline. And I just like, come here. Let me show you the way, right? Let me open the doors for you, because for me, this stuff is so simple. I've gotten so great at it that I'm really passionate about helping people own their time. So that was all. I see some comments. Thank you guys. Appreciate you joining. I will see you next week at 7. This live will be saved. So if you are just joining, you want to catch the replay, it'll be up. Have an amazing night.